ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cross, that one king of Spain said he would rule over a desert rather than have heathens in his nation. And this stuff that there were 23 people killed in the Inquisition and stuff is gibberish. Nonsense put out by the propagandists who are saying that God is good. The torture chambers and the methods of torture we know about from the Middle Ages did not concern a dozen people or 50 or 100 people across centuries. That's stupid and ludicrous. It was a violent, bad time to live in, when anything you did or said was subject to... I mean, my God, Galileo said the Earth's moving, and they called him in and made him kneel down and swear that it wasn't moving. And they put him under house arrest, and he died under house arrest. They're not joking around. And he was very well known across Europe. They couldn't just execute him, although they did with Giordano Bruno. Burned him at the stake. Burned him at the stake. Stuck him up on a piece of wood and put a fire under him and killed him. This shit that there was 38 people or 109 people killed in the Inquisition, different numbers I've heard, is nonsense. If it was that tolerant and easy of a society, they wouldn't have sat there in stagnation for so many centuries. They just... Go read a little history, guys. Anyways, the violence of religious dictatorships will show itself once they get power. And like I say, the secular dictatorships are out of style with the Marxists now. They're trying the religious ones. So just you give them some time, and then we'll talk. But the point of it all is, it's a dictatorship for the Pope, or a dictatorship for God, or a dictatorship for the atheist state. It's all a dictatorship. What about a system that respects individual rights? Now, I think you can't justify such a system on God. You have to justify it in a secular, rational, objective fashion. And ethics is a science. Ethics is a science. So, enough of this nonsense about atheists killing people without compunction. The religious people kill people with fervor. At least Stalin, was motivated. He said, we've got to get more slave labor. We've got to build this canal. We've got to keep the people from rebelling. We need to build this steel mill. I'm not saying it was good at all what he did. I think it was the most horrible murderer of the 20th century, possibly. But still, he didn't just take whole swaths of people and gas them to death, like Hitler. He turned them into slave labor. The whole frickin' economy ran on slave labor. Clear up in the 1960s and 70s and 80s, there were prisons where the people just did stuff. They were political prisoners, and they worked and produced stuff. It was not an atheist regime, okay? It was a dictatorship. Just like the popes and any other religious dictatorship is not... The essential characteristic wasn't atheism, it was dictatorship. And they're willing to do anything in the name of what's right. It's ridiculous to say that there is a difference between a religious dictatorship and an atheist dictatorship. There's no difference. It's a dictatorship. Call it whatever color you want. Change the window dressing and the fig leaf. It's the same thing, though. Now, this is like somebody who they've never seen blue pants before. This guy happens to live in a country where all the pants, blue is considered unstylish or whatever. And he never thought about it. He never knew. And he goes to France one day, and he sees guys in blue pants. And his wife says, go over there and ask him for directions. They're lost. And he says, that guy? That with the blue pants on? And she says, yeah. And he says, how do I know he'll be able to give me directions? How do I know he speaks a language? How do I know he's a human? How do I know that he won't attack me? How do I know he won't blow up? How do I know? How do I know? And she said, what the hell are you talking about? He says, well, he's got blue pants. I've never seen one with blue pants before. And she said, it's a man with blue pants. Come on, the essential thing is that it's a man. It's a human. He changes his pants, doesn't matter. So, I mean, that's a silly example. But what about somebody who walks up to doors and they've never seen a door made out of aluminum? They've seen lots of doors made out of wood with doorknobs. And they walk up to an aluminum door with a doorknob and they stand there and they don't know what to do because they're not sure if they should push on it or kick it or pray to get through or what, because they've never seen an aluminum one. That person is a mental retard. That person is retarded. They have something wrong with their brain. They aren't able or willing to think, to just do basic essential thinking skills. Retard. All you can say then about the essentials of the dictatorship isn't the little fig leaf changes. They were justifying their acts by God, they were justifying their acts by historical materialism, they were justifying their atrocities this way or that way or the other way. And it doesn't prove anything to say that they were more atrocious in the 20th century than before. Watch and see what happens in the 21st century and see if Ahmadinejad's going to use nukes. Then you'll have to eat a lot of crow, because we haven't had a chance of this massive, highly potent industrialized world hasn't seen the atrocities that could be unleashed by a religious dictatorship, because secular dictatorships have been so in style. Now, you can't say that the German state was very secular when it started the First World War. That was an atrocious situation. But that's not quite the same as genocide against your own people, which Hitler then did 15 years later in that same country. Stalin being the worst, though. But it's all a system of dictatorship and disrespect for individual rights. Now, atheism isn't a belief. You can't get a bunch of people together under a belief of atheism, because it's just like a group of a-Santa Clausists or a-Gremlinists. Yes, I'm an atheist, and I'm also an a-Gremlinist and an a-Santa Claus, and I'm a member of all these groups, and we get together and we talk about how ridiculous the idea of gremlins is. And we get together and we talk about how ridiculous the idea of, no, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Atheism is not a belief. Atheism is a lack of belief in something for which there's no evidence. Atheism is just say, I don't believe it because there's no evidence, and there's no reason to believe it. So to blame an atrocity on a person not believing in God, and then they have to soft pedal the atrocities that have been done in the name of God. That's when they come up with those figures of 17 people were killed in the Inquisition. Stupid nonsense. We've got torture chambers left over from the Middle Ages that they haven't always been museums. Okay, so much for Vox Day and that nonsense. Show me an atheist secular society like the United States of America, which is not a Christian nation. Look at our Constitution, read it sometime, and see how much religion's in there. And show me a society like America that descends into mass murder and slaughter and mayhem, genocide and so on. Then you'll have a case. But as it is, secular societies are nice, peaceful places to live. Dictatorships are not. And communism was hardly a secular society. It was a religion.